What is up, GSW? It is your Get Slammed Wrestling Podcast Prediction Champion, Healy. And I thought I'd make a quick 5 to 10 minute video. I'm gonna go ahead and take off the belt real quick. Hold on a second. Alright, I'm gonna do my best to edit that part out. If I can't, too bad. Deal with it, I'm the champ. Okay, so, sorry, it's not the coolest background, but I thought I'd make a quick 5 to 10 minute video regarding the most popular argument in all of pro wrestling, and that is why the Attitude Era is the greatest and how nothing now or probably in the future will ever compete with it. So I will say, I never watched the Attitude Era. What? Yeah, I know. I never watched it because I'm 20 years old. Can you believe it? 20 years old, this beautiful, this successful, and the podcast champion. Yeah. So, I never watched it simply because I was too young. What did the Attitude Era go to? Like 97 to 02? So I was 1 to 5, 6. So I never really watched it. I never got into it that early. I started watching about 2006 when I was 9. Went over to a buddy's house, stayed the night, he showed it to me. I used to make fun of him all the time. Story for another time. But I was thinking, I started a new job, been working later hours so I can't fall asleep as early, and I get lost on YouTube. Started going back and watching a lot of Attitude Era videos, and I usually have, but something last night clicked. It was 2 weeks before Backlash 2000. It was Linda McMahon announcing Stone Cold was going to be in The Rock's corner at Backlash or whatnot, and then the fiasco starts with Triple H trying to, what did he try to do? Pedigree Linda McMahon, so Shane McMahon starts beating his ass, and then The Rock's music hits and he comes out, and you just realize that no one nowadays has that much charisma, that much star power as The Rock did back then. He came out, and it just simply, I don't really care about The Rock now. He's a big movie star, he comes back every once in a while, but you go back and you can understand why people have been a fan of his for so long, followed him all the way to now, just because of what he did back then. You go back and watch after he won the championship at Backlash, and it just, the dude was a star. That's all there is to it. And you start thinking that no one can compare to the promos that those guys were cutting on each other, the content that they had. I was thinking how The Rock came out and he's like calling Triple H, "You're the biggest asshole to walk God's green earth," and it just sounded so legitimate, and it didn't sound so watered down and scripted like all the promos nowadays. And I will say over and over again, and I don't care what you think, even though I'm going to ask, what do you think? I don't care. It's simply for the purposes of our channel. I think, let's say, everyone from the Attitude Era was switched to now, and everyone from the so-called new era, the PG era, was put in the Attitude Era. We would be talking about the Attitude Era still, if every talent from 2017 was put in the Attitude Era, simply because what they were allowed to do, the content they were provided with, and just the time period, to be quite honest. Do you really think Stone Cold and The Rock or Mankind and The Undertaker would have taken place with the content that we have now and the garbage, watered-down scripted period? No way. Instead of Mankind getting thrown off Hell in a Cell, we would have seen, what? Braun Strowman throwing Kalisto off or something silly like that. So, instead of this garbage, watered-down product we have nowadays, they were simply able to be themselves, and in that, in turn, brought out some of the greatest content we've ever seen. You don't even have to understand the storylines at the time, and it's still incredible to see the star power that these guys had, which a lot of them still do now in this era. You can't tell me Kevin Owens isn't a star. I'm wearing a shirt right now. He legitimately could be a force in WWE. But then they had, when he was the Universal Champion, he was nothing but a joke. It was all about him and Chris Jericho because it was making that money instead of what is going to be remembered in the long term. I swear WWE thinks they see something and they go with it and milk it and milk it and milk it. Like the list of Jericho works, but when it did up until he left. But to be honest, Kevin Owens being a pansy little crybaby champion was awful. Then he loses the Universal Champion and he turns into this monster again. It just makes no sense. And I hate it. Back then, it seemed to make sense. Yeah, there was a lot of garbage content, but it's the most memorable content. you just cannot compare it to Stone Cold coming out to save Team WWE, even though the invasion angle wasn't all that great from what I remember. Nothing compares to that crowd, and I will get to that in a little bit. Nothing compares to the crowd reaction that Stone Cold and The Rock and Triple H were getting back, then Mankind, The Undertaker. That's another part of it. I go to these crowds, and you see these people just chilling. I go to WWE products, and people are just hanging out, being quiet. Are you kidding me? This is supposed to be a fight. I get it. Kayfabe is practically dead. And it makes me so angry. You see these people so conscious about what the random person next to them is going to think if they stand up and cheer or boo who they want. It's a goddamn wrestling show. The crowd is, and I feel like dead crowds make these performers even more watered down because they feel like nothing they're going to do is going to get the crowd riled up, because that is their job, is to rile up the crowd, make the crowd get behind them, or make the crowd hate them. The crowd cheers for who they want. Half the time when they go to these garbage cities, like when I was in Lincoln, Nebraska, about an hour from here, it was just so lame. The only time the crowd got crazy was when Kane's music hit and they started chanting "Go Big Red." Like, are you kidding me? It was just ridiculous. It wasn't the greatest show, but still, the crowd plays so much into it, and that's why you go back and watch some of these Attitude Era videos and get chills every time simply because of crowd reaction every single time. So coming from a 20-year-old who never watched the Attitude Era, yeah, nothing will compare unless WWE goes back to some sort. We don't need chair shots to the head. It's just not needed. But they need to get off these word-by-word scripts. These guys aren't actors. They're performers. They're able to go out there and perform, not act. I truly always believe that. There's a very few select, like The Rock, John Cena, even who are able to rock. Batista now, he's becoming a movie star. His podcast with Chris Jericho on Talk is Jericho was incredible, by the way. Check that out. I'm not even a fan of Batista's, but they're able to act. But these guys are performers. They want to perform, and that's exactly what they did in the Attitude Era. Now it seems they have to act. In the ring, they're great, but you can tell they're acting, doing flippy dippies instead of beating the shit out of each other. So that's my quick, 7-minute opinion. That is correct. What do you think? Do you think anyone will ever, from this era, ever compare to the likes of The Rock, Stone Cold, Mankind, Undertaker? Do you ever think it'll come back in a sense, or be that popular and mainstream, have raunchy crowds, crazy crowds? Do you ever think WWE will be the same, I should say, as back then? This is Healy, your GSW podcast champion. That's my quick 10 minutes. I'm going to try to get a little intro going for this. See if I can work something out. It'll be terrible because I'm not computer savvy, but I'll do my best. Until next time, come Backlash, I'll still be your champion, so you don't have to worry about that.